Turtles all the way down. I'm Jake, sometimes Jenk. I was reading about this this research that had been done into Shakespeare scholarship, and I think what they did was basically fed in all the works of Shakespeare and many of his contemporaries. I guess be they, Marlowe or Bacon or some of the other ones, and found that when they fed all of this information into a artificial intelligence, this AI was directed to basically compare and look for patterns of, word usage, spacing, meanings, maybe some things that were consciously part of the style of the author, and some of the things that were probably unconscious to them while they were writing it, and found that and made some conclusions based on this research that some of the works of Shakespeare were actually written with the help of some others, and also he was partly to take credit for some of the writings of some of the other people that sometimes they shared authorship. So it's almost like the evidence was there, but it took an AI, it took some kind of an intelligence that has some capacity that's super to us, that was able to draw that information out of there, or draw the the meaning from it. There's this thing, I guess it's associated with Socrates, this idea of know thyself. It's almost kind of universally accepted that if you know about yourself, understand yourself, get a sense of yourself, it's probably a good thing for you in your day-to-day living. But what about others knowing me? In real life and IRL versus virtual, people that know me in real life, we have some kind of a bandwidth of information between us, and they're getting access to some knowledge of me that you might be missing in the virtual realm. And so people like, or companies or organizations like Google and Facebook and Apple, they have a great deal of knowledge about me, based on my searches and how long I spend on certain pages. And Facebook will even turn on their microphones and get a sense of what you're listening to and what kind of TV shows you're watching, and build a model of you, an understanding of you, and know where you've been, when you've been. And as a result, a lot can be customized towards you. So this data is out there, and we're figuring out ways how to get some information from that metadata. And the AIs that we're putting on these tasks are getting better at it. There's a company called Cambridge Analytics, or Analytica, whatever it is. And some of the stories surfaced about them. And their approach is, as I recall, something to the effect of, if there's 150 data points about you, they will know you to the extent of what your friends might. If they have 300 data points about you, what you've liked, what you've searched for, etc., they will know you maybe better than you know yourself. Or and in their case, it seemed like they were claiming to have 500 data points on just about everybody. So as a result, are able to custom detail what is required to move your opinion, your belief, your vote towards a certain way. And it can be incredibly effective. When an AI is tailor-suiting it to you based on who you are, it'll know exactly how to manipulate you. And this is a danger that I think some people are waking up to. Right now, obviously, it's in the hands of people that are using these algorithms to figure shit out. And it'll be interesting when there is an AI that is capable of making use of such facility with big data. What kind of behavioral responses that'll evoke within an AI. That could be fun to figure out. To hide or to reveal myself. I guess if you're trying to essentially hide who you are, whatever that may mean, you might be doing it because it's a form of, keeping your enemies from getting advantage, so that people, the less they know about you, the less they can take advantage of you. Maybe it's that kind of a defensive mechanism. Or maybe you'd like to hide, to build a sense of mystery. Maybe, you're myth building around yourself. Maybe you run a religion, so you're at the top, and you want to create this sense of mystery to hide, who you are. But, I tend to sway towards revealing, and I found it to be very effective. So in a strange sort of way, it's kind of like it's one of these, I don't know, what is it, a judo move or something, where, meeting, violence with nonviolence sort of a thing. It's, by revealing everything about me, it's as if I disarm anyone that could be some kind of a paranoid enemy of mine, whoever they may be. I don't think about these things. It almost seems like it's advantageous if you don't and just reveal, be on the side of show. And I guess there's a bit of conceitedness to it in it. Also, it's like, to know me is to love me. So there's no fear in, letting people know me. The idea is that if you're going to get to know me, it's going to be a good thing. So bring it on. I'll just show you everything. And, it builds trust, right? And trust is required in business as well as love. And also something related to both, like hostage negotiation, for example. There's always this sense that a bridge of trust has to be built. And one of the greatest ways to do that, which starts this positive feedback loop, is to be honest and open about who you are to others. And that seems to bring this nice feedback loop, and you might find reciprocating from the other, and seems to work. I advocate for it. It's kind of like unburdening my secrets. And in this episode, we had a guy come in by the name of Damon Pourshian, whom I had not met until then. So it's kind of interesting that we went right into kind of very personal areas, and I was able to, as well as he was, I think, reveal some deep, dark secrets, I would say. And probably my deepest, darkest secret that I had thought was the hardest for me to reveal over the years, which, of course, in retrospect, doesn't seem like a big deal. These secrets, whether I like it or not, just by the fact that, I'm out here and talking on this podcast, I have a digital footprint. I've had blogs for about over a decade. I've got all my email and texts, and now that I've got this podcast as well. Before, you've got a lot of metadata about everything that I've been doing in the last decade as well. Put it all together, there's a lot to know about me already that's out there. And I think there's actually a great deal of promise also in voice. I think AIs will be able to listen to our voices and be able to determine with some degree of, at least persuasive certainty that, what they'll be able to figure out if we're lying, more or less. They'll be able to figure out what our emotional state is. They'll be able to figure out our level of sexual attraction. We'll be able to listen to old conversations, including the ones that I'm putting out. Fully aware of this. I have been, I feel like, for years. The AI will be able to figure out our lies. It may be, in some cases, things that aren't clear to myself. Maybe things that I'm subconsciously suppressing. It'll be able to figure out with some kind of certainty what's going on inside by listening to my voice, because I feel like there's a great deal of information that is in the voice. It's a great deal of detail there that I don't think we're necessarily tapping into, that I think an AI is going to have a better time doing. That's why I think maybe singing is kind of a big deal to me. It seems like you're really revealing a great deal about yourself when you sing. It's your voice, but it's something more than that. It's your voice in a kind of a deeply revealing, vulnerable state, which seems incredibly revealing and hard for me to do in my case. And maybe one day I will. But I have to be prepared, and I guess as I was saying, I always have been, that whatever I write online, whatever I say online, whatever I put online I'm just assuming will be all for the world to see one day. I could imagine a time in 20 years where somebody hacks something and we're able to search anybody's digital footprint at any moment in time and see what they're doing, what they're saying, what porn site they're on. All of that will be visible. You gotta, just know that. And it's a new kind of freedom opens up. You reveal yourself, and you know that it's going to be, I think, the likely future, that all will be transparent whether you like it or not, or at least it'll be a lot more transparent whether you like it or not. I feel like I've been trying to get ready for that at least for a decade. My assumption is that, there's going to be some dirty laundry in there, but it's an acceptable level. It's not earth-shattering shit. It's my shit. Some of it will be shocking, but big deal. I feel ever confident that I'm beginning to be right on that. It seems like it's becoming easier and easier to extract information. And what's doing that retroactively through AI, it's becoming actually quite easy to see that trajectory moving into a way where, imagine the politics that comes out. Imagine going back and listening to old speeches by people and figuring out what they're saying and when they're saying it, and what that's going to mean for democracy. Even personal things. Let's say you go back and listen to your spouse's, conversation with somebody, and then you figure out from them that, what have you, that they're attracted to somebody else. Who knows? I mean, there's going to be all kinds of ramifications from, having all this data that we're putting out there finally come to be interpreted by a sufficiently complex and capable intelligence to be able to, extract more and more information, reveal more knowledge of things after the fact. So to me, that's kind of, I love that idea. I think it's a great thing. I don't fear it. It's kind of silly to fear it. I think, what's the alternative? This is not a bad result. To have a future of, full transparency. Who could be against that? If I had to choose, I'll choose transparency. There's kind of a togetherness in that. By revealing yourself to the world becomes a part of you. It's a good future. I'm feeling very hippy-dippy today, it seems. So, I hope you enjoyed this conversation with Damon Pourshian. It's a personal one. Secrets are revealed. Hope you enjoy it. Talk soon.
This place is so awesome, right, Didi? You've got so many paintings.
Things to distract you.
I'm not even looking at you. I'm just looking around you. It's not your aura, it's your paintings.
Right.
It's awesome.
It's a lot of color.
It's a beautiful space.
I get used to it, and I maybe don't appreciate it as much as I should sometime.
That happens.
Mm-hmm.
Why do you think the world is... why do you think there's going to be an apocalypse of
I'm not sure if there is, but
you mentioned that.
There's a lot of people that seem to be. It's when I was growing up in the 70s, it was basically the Cold War. There was constantly the threat of nuclear annihilation and war with the Soviet Union. So we were, whether or not it was true or not, we all kind of grew up under this knife of Damocles that was about to come down on us, and so. that really impacted how I developed, and how I dealt with people, and how I even dealt with some serious matters like, the notion whether or not to have a family and kids, for example. I was probably reluctant to do so, even maybe reluctant to fall in love, and maybe reluctant to have anybody, rely on me or me rely on somebody else. There was this kind of notion that I have to be self-sufficient because the future is going to be hard. And having somebody that loves me or I love them is going to mean that it's going to be an issue later. So
This
I
is
know,
deep.
yeah, like I would think, okay, yeah, I might, if I had that, I would certainly love it and want it. But right now, before I have that, maybe it's best not to go down that path. Is kind of the approach, whether, fully conscious to me or not. That seemed to be what's going on. It's only recently that I started thinking, that I could maybe submit to such a thing. See, I mean, I'm even using the word submit. It seems like that. Mm-hmm. Are you hearing?
Yeah, I'm hearing double. It's kind of really throwing me off. I can't hear myself. There I go. Now it's perfect. Rock and roll. Yeah, it was
Check.
just,
Okay.
I could hear outside, and I.
Okay. Cool.
Yeah.
So we were getting deep about what, dear? About love and submission
and the end of the world.
Right. So in order to prepare for the end of the world, it's best not to get tangled up
in love.
For example.
And it's Valentine's Day today.
It is Valentine's Day.
I'm guessing you're single by the way you're talking.
I am at the moment, yeah.
Yeah, me too. Recently singled. Recently singulated before Valentine's. Well, right. I mean, not just before, but it's been about a month now for me.
Wow. How's that going? Well, I mean, right now I'm just, I guess I'm officially dating. It's kind of new for me in a sense, like, God, not.
I'm so afraid of that word.
Trying not to, maybe not take everything too seriously and just see where things fall. Just hang out with people that you enjoy being with, and who knows where that's going to go. I think we always put this pressure on ourselves. It's like when you meet somebody. I know I do. I'm speaking for myself. It's like I always start to think about, what if this ends badly, or it's going to probably end badly, and I'm going to disappoint them, and how am I, and so in order to, again, it's that same thing. In order to avoid that, what you maybe consciously or unconsciously consider to be a not so great future, you maybe avoid that path altogether, which is, the lesson of Shakespeare, which was, it's better to have loved and lost than to have never loved at all. Yeah. And you got to keep reminding yourself of that of that lesson.
Love is a. We could talk about love forever, man.
Wow. Well, it's Valentine's Day.
And I think it's different. It's different every time for every situation. You can learn and learn and learn and grow and as a human being and evolve. And what I try to do is, after every relationship ends, I sit back and meditate and I think about what I did wrong. What were my fuck ups?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. And
debrief
how
yourself.
Can I not do those again?
Yeah.
Is it worth not doing? Are these valid things? Do other people feel that way too? Have other women felt that way? Have I carried over a previous, imperfection, as it were?
Right.
So always wanting to be better is an important thing, whether you're a man or a woman. In the game of love, if you want to have a meaningful relationship and you recognize it, you need to have that grounding, and you need to be able to be on that level. You have to evolve as a lover.
Yeah, I guess
it's hard because we're monkeys, right?
Yeah, we're very complicated primates. Yeah, yeah. It's what was I going to say? So you said it was a month ago that you've just recently.
Well, it's been kind of like in the makings for a while. We've talked about it, and then it's just so hard because we're still really in love. Like we still talk all the time. We still say I love you. She comes over, we hang out. It's just not a boyfriend, girlfriend, or like husband, wife kind of vibe anymore. It's kind of, but it still is filled with love, which is. It just seems like. As I get older and the more relationships I go through, my breakups become more and more graceful. Yeah. And this one was very graceful. In fact, we still work together creatively. So she's one of my, I'm one of her biggest fans. I think she's this true artist, the ones that bleed it. They're like, why can't you see it this way, world? She's one of those. And it's a privilege to be around that kind of fire.
Yeah.
It's a privilege to be around that kind of woman or man or a human being that's tapped in, that's so sensitive to this world when we're so calloused,
Yeah.
Because it refreshes us. It peels our layers off. And that's what this girl did to me. So the moment I met her, I told her, I said, I don't care if this doesn't work out. I know that by the end of it, I'm going to say thank you. And it was
that's so wise.
True, growth of an experience to have you in my life.
Seems like you're kind of ahead of schedule compared to my development, because you seem to be about a dozen years behind me, but it took me a while to discover such things. Probably, late into my 30s and early 40s. Yeah. Before I really started, I think, coming into my own as, being capable of giving and receiving love. And it continues to change. And in fact, I'd have to say it probably kind of got me in a little bit of trouble last year, in the sense that I think in the spring I met this woman, and I was, going through some changes where I thought, okay, I think this time I could do it differently. I could actually let myself go, or let myself fall in love, or let myself submit in a way, and maybe not hold back, and be affectionate when I felt like being affectionate, whereas before you would try to be coy about things, or maybe not be too effusive, and lest they whatever, I don't know. So I decided to do it that way, and I think it kind of backfired. I think I scared the shit out of her.
Jeez. Not what I wanted to hear.
So the only time in my life where I thought, okay, I'm going to try maybe do it this way. And
real. You kept it too real.
Just too real, man. I don't know. I mean, who knows?
I say don't
how
give
I interpret
up.
Things. Yeah.
I think depending on how is injurious a word?
Yeah.
How injurious the previous relationship is and the breakup determines how much you're going to protect yourself in the next. Sort of like you hurt yourself.
Yeah.
Like I had surgery last year. The back of my leg is protecting the front of my leg from pinching and shooting a sharp pain up my, and I recognize I have to massage that thing. I got to warm up the back of my leg so that I can say, hey, subconscious, whatever, like this mechanism, relax. It's the same thing with love. Like when you get out of a relationship, you got to be able to just, heal for one, take the time to heal, accept that, your ass got dumped, or you dumped her, and then whatever. You should also reflect there if you're the dumpee or the dumper.
You're right. It does get easier and more graceful as, for me, my first serious relationship lasted more than 20 years. So I really didn't know how to break up. And
I got nothing on you.
It was quite long and traumatic, and, in retrospect, didn't need to be as bad as it was. And, since then, just a few more, it's been, and I'm friends with the women that I've been with as romantic partners, so most of them, almost all of them, yeah.
Even the crazy ones?
Well, for various reasons, that first one is not in touch these days, but because I said it didn't really go smoothly at the end. Yeah. But other than that, I have ex-girlfriends that I'm communicate with on a daily basis through emails or texts or hang out with them, but like you said, there's no necessarily a romantic thing.
Hey man, you never know, if you give that positive vibe and you're a good soul and you're, the words that you wrote in her pages of life are beautiful, well, then
you'd like to hope so, yeah.
That's all you're leaving behind in this world. Why would you ever scar a woman? I don't understand these guys that are fucked up, some guys out there, they're really fucked up.
Yeah.
People talking shit about Donald Trump's locker room talk. I've heard way worse shit than that. I honestly think his talk is really normal, and that there's way worse shit than that. I've heard some stuff that I'm like, wow.
Yeah, but you heard it when you're younger and it's in certain circumstances. No, but
there's some people, okay, look, I'm not talking about getting nasty or getting really vile. Yeah. I'm talking about people who are actually really fucked up, and then that one moment they slip and kind of divulge a bit of information, and you look at them and you kind of just awkwardly smile and go, and inside your head you're like, keep my fucking daughters away from this guy, and he just seems like there's dudes like that out there.
I'm sure there's a lot.
There's women like that out there. It's
Yeah, and it's well, I guess the notion right now is that some of these people are feeling more comfortable to let out their assholery.
Right?
Yeah, because
I mean, they
this
go on
current
traveling
environment.
tours, right? Like
Yeah,
hosting in this country, how to pick up girls and drop them like a
yeah,
ton
those
of...
guys. It's
Yeah.
pathetic. Yeah.
And people sign up for this shit. I went to one of my friend's house who's not a friend of mine anymore, and I'm glad because this side of him was revealed to me, and I'm like, wow, you go to underground meetings, secret meetings on how to pick up fucking girls. Hey, happy Valentine's Day, baby. You know, you fucking creep.
Well, I mean, I kind of feel sorry for them in a way. Like
I feel sorry for them. They don't even know the people that they're
Yeah.
hanging out with. They make these pacts with these guys and have these
Right.
secret techniques. I mean, I'm all up for brushing up on your skills. You know, there's nothing wrong with going out with your friends and being like, yo, so what do I say to that girl? Like, how do I, you know, or get a little coaching from your girlfriends or whatnot.
Yeah.
But when you got like, your motive is to just
Yeah,
notch
that's
on
the
your
thing.
belt.
Yeah, it's what
And
what is it
damage
you're
young
trying
women.
to do here? Yeah, is it like the advice is this is what you need to do to be a great, a wonderful human being so that this girl will like you?
Right.
That's okay.
See, this is years of wisdom.
Right, but if you tell them how to basically manipulate them and trick them into liking you, then that's clearly a very diseased way of being. That's.
Have you read The Game?
No. Which one?
The Game. It's
That's
like this
the pickup
famous
one?
book about
Yeah.
picking up.
I've heard about it.
It
Yeah.
looks like the Bible, but it's like the playbook.
Yeah.
I haven't read it, but I know my friend was trying to get me to read it forever. I'm like, are you kidding me, man? This thing's ridiculous. So, in one of the things it says to insult the woman.
Oh yeah, I've heard about this.
That's
yeah.
the psychology.
They call it the negging. Yeah.
What are they?
Negging, you call it, going negative. Yeah.
Negging.
That seems to have gone into the popular.
The vocab, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm sure a lot of vocab came from that. But anyways, let's not talk about that anymore. It's
Well,
stupid. Let's talk about the good side of love. What can we teach the world from your experience and my experience?
I don't know.
What can we
Yeah.
pass on to anybody that's listening that actually wants to have meaningful love?
Well, the one thing, just from what we were talking about a minute ago, is that it's usually not the end of the world. Speaking of the end of the world, it's like when something happens, like a breakup, especially if you haven't experienced a lot of it, and like I hadn't, for example, well into my years, it seems like the end of the world. It's like, how do I deal with this? I don't know what to do. And then you realize, oh, these are human conditions that you work through.
Yeah,
and you
I
figure
feel what
that
you're
shit
saying.
out.
Yeah,
yeah.
I
so.
think for sure it sometimes feels like that, but as you get older, maybe like part of that evolution is you're not letting go. Like you feel like it's going to be the end of the world if you let it go, but when you do, you know that it's going to be fine. And when you do, you're like, yeah, it's fine.
Somehow seems to work out.
It does. It always does, and it's for the best. We can't foretell the future. We don't know if it's going to be better or worse, and we don't know how we got where we are. But when we look back, it all makes sense, right? But we're looking forward, we can't tell. So.
But what is your sense, though? Is it generally optimistic, or do you have
Definitely.
Yeah.
I mean, I never knew, for instance, this last relationship. I can tell you something beautiful about every relationship that I've had that's been meaningful to me. And every one of them is part of me now and is a part of my character going forward. And I can't even imagine not having those things. Just like I can't imagine not having my dog.
Yeah, what a cool dog.
Where the hell is he? Is he alive?
He's right there.
Huh? Oh. Yeah. Oh, he's next to you.
Yeah. He
Traitor.
was getting tummy rubs earlier. I hope you're not jealous.
We do get jealous of each other, but he's the Scorpio, I'm a Leo. He's more jealous than me.
So how long have you been with this puppy?
He's 5 years old now.
Oh, wow.
I've had him since he was 2 months old.
Nice.
Yeah. It's a crazy story. You want to hear it?
Yeah.
So it was in 2009 when I was working for, at the time, was it CTV's creative agency, Bell Creative Agency now. I quit last year. I was assigned to do a commercial for a show, and actually I created the graphics and the show opening. I designed the whole thing. It was called Making It, and it was about people or animals or anything that made it big. And it was about this Bernese mountain dog, and his name was Ty. And Ty was the most award-winningest Bernese mountain dog in the world. And he had the the Canadian record for 39 best of breeds in 1 year. In 2009. So he's a bit of a celebrity in the dog world. I never wanted a dog. My ex-girlfriend, who was the best friend, like one of my best friends. You know what I mean? That was a beautiful thing she added to my life. To have a best friend, you know, not necessarily passionate, but a best friend.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm ADDing. Anyways, so the dog. So I was asked to do this show, and, you know, 2 years later, this girl asks me, she says, "Hey, T," he's here to say, see, he knows we're talking about him. He's so smart. It's unbelievable. I haven't even said his name. So it turns out the show that I did the thing for, when my ex-girlfriend said, either you get me a wedding ring or you get me a dog, I need commitment from you. And I said, well, obviously, honey, I'm going to get you a dog because I'm not spending that 25 grand on your wedding ring. That's not going to happen. So that's fucking crazy. I'm going to talk about that forever too. Yeah. Diamonds, what the hell? Anyways.
Yeah. What's that all about?
Yeah, well, let me just finish this and we'll get to that. But I told her, like, hey, we'll get a dog. And we got a Bernese Mountain Dog. Lo and behold, a few months later, I find out it's the son of the dog from the show.
Amazing. Yeah, it's a
like,
beautiful
what
dog.
Are the odds?
So I can see, show dog.
Meant to be.
Yeah.
Diamonds.
Yeah, when I was a kid, I had a dog. It was half Saint Bernard, half German Shepherd, and the face looked very similar to that.
That would be beautiful. Yeah.
That's another thing. We're talking about, avoiding love. There's another reason. When I got this dog when I was 11, and then by the time I was maybe 12 or 13, it became a problem. This dog was little nuts, was biting people, and we had to give it away, essentially. And you know, I realized that it probably wasn't going to survive that process. You know, whether or not they tried to tell me that it's going to be in a nice, at a farm in the country or something like that. I realized that. And I think one of the ways that I dealt with that was, again, to tamp down this caring. You know, it's like the only way to deal with that is if I care less about this kind of shit. Do you know what I mean? It's like, because I care so much about it, it's so painful and deep, inside, that the way to deal with it is to kind of rationalize it. Well, it's just a dog, you know. It's no big deal. It's, it's the world is a survival of the fittest. It wasn't fit, so it's not going to survive. You know, these kind of rationalizations.
Oh, I understand, yeah.
You know, so this is what kind of, I guess, probably overtook me during, my high school years and early university. So it took me a while to get over that, I think. Yeah.
Wait, that overtook you after your dog or before?
Yeah, I think one of the ways to deal with the loss was to just diminish how the pain was impacting me. And the one way to do that is to rationalize it away. And
you said you grew up with the dog, right?
Well, that was it, like just for those 2 years. It was very intense.
Yeah. See,
it impacted me.
I started where you went. I started with having no real feelings for dogs or animals or birds or anything like that. I don't know what it was. It's really weird. I might as well just tell this to the world, but this is really fucked up.
What's that?
You know how they say, like, there's certain things that, like, psychopaths or serial killers, they'll fit a certain profile, certain things they do, like they killed animals when they were kids and shit like that. Well, when I was young, I mean really young, at the age of 4, I did the most fucked up thing.
Really? Well, at that age, it's excusable in a sense.
I guess so, but it's freaky. Like, I think about it, I feel it's amazing now. Is like I'm such a different person than I ever was, and I'll tell you, it happened late, which gives me hope in people, and at the same time makes me really scared about the ignorance that's out there.
Would it help you to get it off your chest and talk about it, or is that?
Well, I mean, I'm willingly. I've met, I've said it to so many people.
Oh, okay.
I think it's an important thing to talk about openly, and it just, but anyway, so I was a jealous kid. I was a spoiled kid. I was, 4 years old. My parents were well-to-do in Iran, and our neighbors had these. Well, first of all, there was a bit of a competition between my neighbors and me as to who has the most toys, and who has this and that, who has the best life. And one day, they got something that I was not allowed to have, and that's pets. And they got kittens. 3 of them. I can't fucking believe I'm telling you this story.
Yeah.
I'm telling everybody this story. I'm just getting it off my chest. It's got to come out.
Put it out there.
The demon.
That's your name.
Yeah, that's what I grew up with. It's funny. I deserved it when I was a kid. I was messed up. Anyways, thank God I had Jesus, though. I did, and I'll tell you about that later.
Wow. Okay.
Jesus saved me. So I saw these kittens, and I was like, oh my God, I want them, but I can't have them. My parents were not having pets. So I said, okay, fine. One day I went outside in the yard, and they left their kittens in this flower pot next to my fence. I just looked around. No one was around. They're so cute. I squashed them. I killed 3 baby kittens at the age of 4. Or 3.5, I think it was. 4.
This is kind of blowing my mind on a few levels, because at the age of 4, I had a rather sad and disastrous situation with a little kitten as well.
Hey man, I wasn't the kid. You weren't. I hope it wasn't the same cat.
It was no. It's wow, yeah. Because I had it. Well, I might as well reveal now that you did.
Yeah. Confessions.
Yeah, like when I was 4, there was a kitten in the yard, and I don't know if the other person necessarily wants me to reveal who that person was. There was another little kid with me, let's say, and the other little kid said to me, these kittens have 9 lives, right? And the way to prove it, she said, was to bury the cat.
Shut up.
And we actually dug out a hole and buried the cat.
That's some fucking...
Yeah. And then not realizing it all. It's like, oh, that's just, it's just an experiment. Not thinking it through. But that, it stayed with me for a very... And it took me
this
probably...
This show is going to get really gross. Because I've got so many stories like that.
It took a long time for me to admit that I did that, Even at the age of 4. I realized I just didn't know what the fuck was going on. I didn't know.
You don't know.
You beat yourself about it, for years until you can admit.
You don't forget, that's for sure, right? Even though at the time you maybe thought this is no big deal and who cares, this is. But why do you still remember it? Yeah. Why do I still remember the rat we caught and nailed his tail to the road, and we all the kids went on the stool and watched and cheered as cars went by. Oh, he missed. Oh. No. My dad came out and he was like, go wash your hands 5 times. It was like, we did fucked up things when we were kids. I would just shoot birds for fun.
Wow.
Like with BB guns. And you know what? I went to Mexico, me and my friend. He's like, hey, you want to shoot some birds for fun? I'm like, yeah, man, I want to do that. Why? Why do kids do that shit?
It's a strange male energy more than anything else.
Is it just male?
It's mostly, it seems like.
I'd be fucking terrified of a woman who did that shit. Yeah.
That seems to be part of growing up. But, that experience I had when I was 4 might have been actually, even though as horrific as it was, I think it might have actually helped me. Because right after that happened, my older sisters, realized what happened, and they just freaked out on us. It's like, what are you doing? And that's when I realized, oh my God. Like,
how
it just
come
kind
they
of
have
hit
the
me.
sense
yeah, well,
that
they
that's
were older.
wrong and we
they
don't?
were older.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And I think since then, that's where I might have started developing enough empathy that I realized, oh shit, your actions have consequences, and all these living creatures have,
It's a
so
big
that
moment
probably
when that
helped
happens,
put me on the right path, even though it was a horrific experience. So sometimes, those bad experiences lead to good results.
Yeah. No, for sure. I mean, it's amazing, because I've actually faced all that stuff and, sort of asked for forgiveness for it all. I've meditated on it. I've thought about it. And I mean, I know for a fact that I'm not the same person I was before. I'm the same person I am who I am because of the paths I took. But I know for a fact that I've cried about it. I've, come to terms with it, because they're all souls, you took them and it affected me so much that I stopped eating meat. Not because of the taste, because I love what it tastes like. It was a time when every single meal I had to have meat. And I know everybody knows what I'm talking about. It's like, what? It's got no meat in it? It's not a meal? It's just
we're
an
so
appetizer.
spoiled. Yeah.
We're a mess. But, you know, and I think about how many animals I'm not going to be killing anymore because I've decided to do this. Although I eat, you know, seafood still, I'm trying. Yeah. I'm trying to go there. Less dairy, less everything. And it's just because...
Well, there's many good reasons for it.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. And there's many good reasons that people convince themselves of the other side. And that's actually one of the reasons I saw this amazing, you know, I clicked on one of those vegan propaganda, you know, the thing that you hate to see on your Facebook, like the guy who posts Palestinian, you know, children and like dead birds and like dead cows. And nobody wants to see this stuff, even though it's, you know, you should at some point and whatnot. But, I clicked on one of these things once, and I don't know, maybe I was particularly emotional at that time. I don't know what it was, you know, and I was just going through these images, and then
what, like slaughterhouse type images?
Yeah, everything, all that stuff, like just propaganda posters, everything. And
it's mostly true though.
But yeah, it's truth. That's the funny thing. It's not funny at all, but so I clicked on one, and then one of them was an image of a cow, and then the other half was a dog, and it wasn't photoshopped much. It was just like aligned, and they looked identical. I mean, really, one looked like very
similar
close.
Mammals.
Yeah, and then it said like, "Who are we to choose?" You know, and then another one that really hit home after that one already hit me in the balls. You know, this one kicked me when I was down. It was like this caricature, you know, cartoonist style, and there was a wall, like the Berlin kind of wall, right? On one side, it was this beautiful life, happy suburbs and smiling white people, and on the other side was these people dressed in like slaughter clothing and blood dripping down their, you know, knives, and then on the wall is all these writings, like as if the Animal Farm, they're crying out for help, and it's like, you know, and the writings were all the excuses we come up for why it's okay to eat meat. Look at our teeth. Yeah. You know, we can't survive without. We've evolved this way. I make sure I get it from good sources, and I'm conscious of, well, you know, blah, blah, blah. And it's just like the reality versus what we convince ourselves so that we can live this life. And not to bring a whole bunch of, I don't want to be that guy to push it on people, because this doesn't work like that. Just like religion, it doesn't work like that. If someone looks for it, they look for it, and, you know, they find it. But
so right now, you just only eat fish? Is that what you're doing these days?
Just vegetarian mostly.
Yeah.
It's amazing how, you know, you can change your mind, you know, and I never thought I could make it this far, but it's been like, you know, like 7-8 months now, and I don't really care to eat meat. And I put meat accidentally in my mouth, and I honestly felt like throwing up.
Yeah, that happens weird. After you're away from something for a while. Yeah. I've been, I guess, probably like 95% vegetarian over the last 10 years. It's
commendable.
Yeah, you know, if I go to a nice restaurant, I might get something with meat, or if I go to someone's house and they cook something for me, I'll do it. But I don't order it much myself. But I've noticed that I have to, you know, at least once a month, or maybe once every couple of weeks. Otherwise, I just feel run down.
I don't think there's anything wrong with that at all, you know. And as long as we're just not a part of the problem, we just have to be mindful of that. It's important. We can't turn our backs on this sort of stuff. Yeah. It's important, you know, pollution and everything like that, and the conditions of these animals and all that. Anyways, we're such guys, you know, we like avoid love and women to talk about dogs and animals.
Well, there's a time and place for everything. I'm not saying I want to do this all day long.
Look at them, they're talking about their dogs now.
Yeah.
They're getting their feelings out through their dogs.
Yeah, isn't that cool? Yeah. But it's late though for a lot of men. I don't think ever even discover that necessarily, that it's something to do. But we got our buddy back.
I'm going to ignore him. I don't know what he wants.
I'm going to take a quick break here.
Take a break? Okay.
Yeah, and I'm going to... Okay.
Yeah. So you were mentioning that, you know, at your age, you can afford to now sit back and kind of recollect, your investments and pursue creative endeavors, things that are closer to your heart.
Yeah, I mean, we got to just, I guess we can't forget why we want money in the first place. It's, people do forget that. I think everyone it's almost like, imagine someone's playing a video game and they forget that they're playing a video game and they, fall into that. And I think it's going to happen maybe in the near future with like virtual reality. People are going to spend so much time in virtual reality that they're going to forget that there is an outside world and why they came in. Money's kind of like that in the sense that we got to remember why we want it. It's not for its own sake. And everybody just, turns it into a game and it's like keeping score and somehow it, develops there. For me, it was always, when I have enough that I can just spend time doing what I want to do, that's enough. I'm going to stop. I stopped.
I'm with you on that, man. And I was telling you, like, I'm a bit younger than you and I'm not where you are, but I'm where you are mentally on that level, like that I, quit my job so that I can do what I love to do. And, it's important. And one of the things I'm trying to build, and you were mentioning, is that you're following these creative endeavors, is I'm building a community as well of artists and individuals that are trying to work on this progress. This is an individual battle, and we need all the help we can get. You know what I'm saying? You find people that are like you, that are striving to just, they're looking at the days and they're looking at the clock and they're like, man, my life is going by. And why does it matter if I fucking go to the bar and drink another night? Why not stay home, call a friend and tell her to come home or tell him to come home and work with you on a painting? That's what I did last night. Yeah. I didn't sleep last night. Me and my friend Micheline, we stayed up. We painted till, the sun was coming up. I'm like, oh, fuck, we better go to sleep. I think I'm ruining my painting now. But,
it can go too long.
How much more memorable and rewarding is something like that than just, in any case, that's what I'm trying to build. And I was telling you, like, I feel it from you. Like, the moment I met you, like, you've got this energy about you. And it's like, this guy is on the right path. He's in tune with you're in tune with your vibration. You're in tune with the universe around you. You're surfing your wave.
Yeah. Sometimes I feel like I'm about to drop off that.
Oh, that's good, because you're pushing the edge. You're riding it, man. You're riding. You're on the toes.
It's kind of like what Formula One race car drivers would always. And the only ones like Ayrton Senna that are successful is because they're always on that edge.
Oh man,
they're awesome. Just about to die.
Yeah, always. You're like, oh my God, how is he holding it together?
Yeah.
Oh man,
back
amazing. Then that was just nuts too. Yeah. But like in Taoism, they have this word called Wu Wei, and it describes what is it? It's like not doing. It's just being what you are. I'm going to butcher the interpretation, but it's basically
the sense of it. Yeah.
Go with the flow. Don't think so hard about who you should be, because you already are that person and you're already on that path. Yeah. You've already lived. You've already died. Just uncover it. Who you really are. Like, but you don't be like, oh man, I got to be more like this. I stop beating myself up for things. Yeah. And I try to go with the flow, and I think you're going to feel me on this. I try to go with the flow as much as possible. That's what everything I'm doing is about. Why I quit my job. I'm going with the flow. I did the Nestle plunge. Boom. What do I want to do? I don't know. How am I going to pay my bills? I don't know. But one thing is for sure, I am not fucking doing any work at no cubicle 9 to 5. Right. I'm not doing that shit that does not vibe with my character. I'm not one of those people. Some people are. That's how they need the structure or whatever.
Yeah,
They put
if it suits you, that's
out.
Fine. But it doesn't suit you, then it's a nightmare. Yeah.
It's not my vibe at all, man. Like, and I live by that. And you have to aim your ship in the right way. You may not be able to control every single turn. You may not be able to, you can't control the weather. You can't control the waves, but you can aim yourself in the right direction. And you have to have the foresight. And that doesn't mean you have to know what you want to do, but you have to know what you don't want to do.
That's a good point.
You know? And how much of you, like, look, 8 hours a day plus commute time. Not being with your kids, not being with your dog. And I'm with my dog every day, all the time now. It's amazing. It's like, it's saving my soul. Yeah. Whereas the other way, like, even though I had my dream job, I quit my dream job. It was like a whole other level. Like, even though I loved what I did, it just wasn't challenging me enough. So now I want to do more. Now I'm working with myself as an artist. and it's much more fulfilling. And the whole, going back to the Wu Wei, when you have that energy about you, that you're surfing that wave and you're in your zone, they call that the duh, like duh. And that duh is basically, people look at you and they're like, something about that guy, man. Yeah, I mean, let's follow him, you know? And people are drawn to you. You're almost like inspiring to them. Do you find that you're getting like that, a bit of that vibe?
Not to brag, but yeah.
See? It's a real thing.
I mean, what you were describing in terms of building a space for a creative community, this is what I've essentially been doing here over the last several years, and people have been kind of congregating here, I think because of the vibe that we're creating, and a lot of interesting ideas are hatched here, and some creative energy happens, and some music is made, and parties happen, and psychedelics are experimented. Psychedelics are experimented with.
Did you say psychedelics?
Yeah. Have you,
what kind?
I've probably tried most of the strong ones, and the shamanic ones.
Oh, no way!
There's many I've tried.
So about 3-4 days ago, I got my hands on some DMT.
Yeah,
and
I
built my way up to doing this. I mean, I waited, and a few days ago I did this.
Oh, you did? Wow!
I did a whole meditation, a whole ceremony, blah blah blah. Almost threw up, and then I'm like, come on, baby, let's go.
How many did you take in?
And I waited, and nothing fucking happened.
One is not enough.
Pissed.
You need to take 3.
I almost threw up. I sucked on it continuously.
It's the worst tasting shit ever.
I don't know if maybe I burnt the...
No,
kept it too close to the flame. I used tinfoil in between.
Oh, right. Yeah, you can't put a direct flame on it. It has to vaporize, essentially. So
Can you put it in a vaporizer?
Apparently not, but what I've been told is that the best thing to smoke it in is actually a crack pipe or a meth pipe, which I don't know where to get. So
yeah, I'll ask someone on the street for that. Hey man, I'll give you $5 for that pipe.
Yeah,
nasty.
No,
but hey, that sounds cool, man. So
but you got to take 3 deep. 2 for sure, but 3 is when you really have the. If you take 1, it's not enough. But to me, it tasted like it was burnt rubber. It was like the worst. Yeah. Most terrible thing.
That's what it tasted like. And you were able to take that
3,
in?
The third one was kind of like a 2.5, 3, yeah.
You were able to actually breathe it and hold it in your lungs for 20 seconds? Because I wasn't.
Not for 20 seconds.
It was just
not. As long as I could each time. Yeah. And
my eyes were watering.
Oh, it was horrifically bad.
And I'm like, I don't want to cough for the next 15 minutes because I will.
Yeah, that's what it was. Like for me, the experience was kind of ruined by the fact that I was coughing so much that essentially I was kind of having the experience of I'm dying, I just need to get through this.
Okay, so
I wasn't really being able to learn from it much.
So how do we do it without coughing?
I think the strategy might be to have something to coat your throat maybe beforehand with whatever appropriate ingredients might be required to do that. Maybe no, because your liver Well, do you know about ayahuasca?
Yeah.
Yeah. So ayahuasca is the main ingredient. I've done that as well. Is DMT.
Yeah.
But the reason when you just eat ayahuasca on its own is that your liver, your enzymes will break it up. So what they do is they brew the tea with another plant that has an enzyme inhibitor in it.
Yeah.
It actually inhibits your enzymes in your stomach from eating it up, so that it gets into your bloodstream and it's not immediately taken care of inside your system. And that's why it lasts for a couple of hours instead of a couple of minutes.
Interesting. I've got to get this down. I love acid. I recently discovered acid last year. Yeah. Last year, I'm 36. I discovered it last year. Yeah. I was terrified of it.
Oh yeah, me too. It took me a long time, but it's now the thing that is one of my favorites. Probably
it's so much better than mushrooms.
Well, I don't know if I'd say that. I like them both. They're very different.
I don't know. You know what I don't like about mushrooms is the unpredictability of it. How I never know what I'm getting. It's like a different experience every single time, which is cool, but sometimes I don't feel adventurous. Sometimes I want the mathematical formula that acid is.
Acid's got a lot of clarity to it.
So clear.
Yeah, whereas mushrooms, it definitely feels earthier. You get kind of more in touch with maybe the emotional, the body, the
natural
nature. Like when you're out. One time I had a mushroom trip and I was on my roof, and I have a green roof up here, which I'll show you after our conversation. And I sat there amongst the the flowers and the plants growing there, and the bees were kind of humming around, and I felt like I had some sort of a conversation with the plants. I was looking at them, and it wasn't verbal, but in that moment, I was registering the information, which was that I was having a conversation with these what seemed like little girls to me, like my little babies.
Man. I've been there.
And I was basically telling them that I would take care of them. And
I just almost spit wine all over you.
It's kind of like I was a father figure to them, and that I wouldn't neglect them, and they'd be fine. And then I would notice that, like when the sun came,
do you want to hold my hands while we talk about this?
Like when the sun came from behind the clouds, I almost thought I saw the plants just kind of like open up and smile, like they were just kind of happy to move towards it. Yeah. And when it went behind a cloud, it almost felt like they all kind of drooped and went, oh.
Listen, I've had the same experience. I once took my dog out for a walk on Leslieville Spitz. There's like this little trail that kind of goes along the rocks and the water. And I let Tetsu off leash. And I had this joint with me. And it's my version of the Jeffrey. So basically, I just took regular weed, sprinkle it in there, and then you ever smoke salvia?
I haven't. But
okay, so salvia you can get at the convenience store. It's legal. Right. You just sprinkle a little bit on there, and you don't smoke it like you usually smoke salvia in a bowl and hold it in forever, and then you're gone.
Space.
But this is different. You sprinkle it on there, and you just take your time with your tokes, and you smoke it, and you hold it in, but all of a sudden, I started talking to the trees, just like you. And I started crying and thanking them. And I realized, okay, has it ever come across to you that trees are... Okay, this is such as my stoner moment of the night, right?
Go for it.
So trees give us the food that we eat. They give us the air that we breathe. They are the soil that we are buried in and stand on.
They're the furniture that we're sitting above.
They're the furniture. They're the homes we build for ourselves.
Yeah, shelter. Yeah.
I mean, what has more humility than trees? What is here like trees and humans? Man, like it's just so sad what we do to forests. And you can understand that those people in the Amazon, all high on ayahuasca, they probably all connected in ways that you probably have. I haven't done that yet. I haven't been able to break through yet. But when I do, I'm going to understand. But that connection to nature, I felt it. And when I was on this Jeffrey with salvia in my weed, I started talking. I really I acknowledged this. And I was like, thank you so much, all of you.
Yeah,
I think it's important. It's like
it feels like they deserve more respect.
Yeah,
doesn't seem right.
And you look at them, and they look the same going up in the sky as they do going into the ground. That organic,
fractals.
It's so beautiful. Trees are incredible.
It's like lightning does the same pathways, and
you see, folks, you don't talk like this unless you do hallucinate. It's just a fact of life. I mean, you may be like, the wonders of God and all that, but you really don't know until you see it in Technicolor.
Yeah. I used to think people were kind of exaggerating and faking it, to be honest. 'Cause in high school and earlier, a lot of my friends were doing this, and I tried pot a few times, and it never really seemed to work on me. And probably because it was all diluted with all kinds of like oregano and tobacco, who knows? But it didn't work on me, so I kind of gave it up for a long time. But the friends that continue to do it, I used to kind of think, oh, they're just exaggerating. Like, no, it's not really affecting them like that. I didn't really appreciate it until in my late 30s, really.
You can't be having that much fun, man. There's no way you're that happy.
Like, it seems like a placebo. It's like, oh, is it really?
That fake smile. Yeah.
But it's true. You get into this, it's a different consciousness. And that's the education of it, if anything, of psychedelics, is that you realize that there is a different way of being in a different consciousness that is maybe just has almost as much right, maybe more to reality as what you're used to. And you think, oh, there's kind of a variability and arbitrariness to reality sometimes that I didn't realize.
There are some people who have walls when it comes to this sort of stuff. And they'll be like, I'll drink and I'll smoke. Maybe I'll smoke a little bit of weed. Oh, no, there's no way I'm shooting heroin.
Well, yeah.
I know I'm joking, but I just said that on purpose because me, myself, there's no way I'm shooting heroin. Yeah. That's my wall.
That's a different class of things. Yeah,
yeah, absolutely. Opium, on the other hand,
well, yeah,
traditionally taken in tea or even eaten.
Oh, I wonder. That might be interesting.
Well, in our culture, in the Middle East, it's
right.
you go to someone's home and they may serve you opium. I have photos of my dad, smoking opium pipes with all my uncles and all my, like relatives, and it's just like it's honestly the most natural. And I'm a relatively new drug user. Because of my religious background, I wasn't really involved in this sort of stuff until much later. So I actually think it protected me. I developed, I was able to have this understanding of the world, and, I meditated and everything, blah, blah. And now I'm like, boom, drugs. Okay, I'm ready.
I often refrain from even using the word drugs for that. I call them psychedelics, the ones I do, because I don't touch things like heroin and cocaine and meth and crack. Those to me are drugs.
No, yeah. Hey, listen, there's
but
good
like
guy
psychedelics,
drugs, good guy drugs, and then there's the bad guy drugs. Right. And this is a real thing. I'm actually writing a little script about this, about a dealer who,
that's a funny way
this
to
is
say
a monologue.
It.
He says, he goes, there's good guy drugs and there's bad guy drugs. There's drugs that make you do this. There's drugs that fight your consciousness, that kill you, that numb you. Yeah. That bring out this hatred inside you, that make you aggressive. Then there's drugs that make you too lazy to pick up a gun and shoot someone.
That's right.
Or you lost your gun because you can't remember where you put it, like marijuana. How is that a bad?
Like no one's like robbing, killing, and whatever.
But you got
to
alcohol.
Get
people are throwing up. Okay, listen. You can drink 20 drinks, and you can take 20 joints. And you tell me what happens and what's more disgusting and what's more disturbing to what happens to the human body.
Yeah. Alcohol is one of the worst drugs that around. It's so...
people have no dignity. You got beautiful women bent over a tree with their skirts exposed and they're throwing all over themselves.
Their friend holds their hair.
Yeah, and it's just like, what is this?
It doesn't seem...
elegant.
Yeah.
But,
I'm also glad that I waited till I was older and maybe more able to appreciate it. Because I think if I was doing psychedelics when I was younger, I would not have learned from it. It would have been kind of a waste.
Whoa factor.
Yeah, it would have been just the novelty of it.
You might have tweaked something wrong in your brain.
That's true, because it's also developing at the time.
Yeah.
But I'm speaking of these things, I even though I don't think of them as drugs in the more harmful varieties of them, but lately I got to say that I've been probably doing too much even of psychedelics, and
really,
every now and
how
then,
often do you?
Well, I sometimes get into stretches where I might do it 2 or 3 times a week.
Really?
Yeah, when I should be maybe doing it once a month or something. But
I probably do it once every 2 months or every month. Every 2. I'm really not about the bad trips, even though I consider myself a very confident drug user. I know how to ride things out if it goes wrong. You know what I'm saying? I know what I'm getting myself into. I know my doses.
You're not going to call an ambulance.
No, hell no.
Yep.
I'm calculated. I measure my shit. You know what I mean? I make sure I don't do this to get fucked up. I'm 36. I'm not a druggie, I'm not like this guy who's like, I need my fix. I'm escaping reality. I love my life. I'm only trying to make it better and understand it better. And drugs, or whatever you want to call them, aids, they aid you. And if you're ready to experience something and you're ready to respect it and use it for what it's meant for, why was it passed down for thousands of years? Why?
Yeah.
Why? They say, someone told me today, there's a reason why the Bible was passed down for this long. It's got some importance. There's a reason why ayahuasca was passed down for so long. Meditation was passed down for so long. These are important things. And for those of us who are ready and who are not just addicts escaping or damaged people, who are actually we're intelligent people, successful, we do good work, we have good relationships. It's about discovery.
Yeah. It's not about escape.
No, it's about understanding more. I think there's a statistic out there that says a lot of it, more people that do psychedelics are deemed to be the more intelligent,
I wouldn't be surprised by that.
They make more money. They're,
Well, probably more curious people to begin with, I would expect. Because really, what's more, and somewhat a little brave too, because you're kind of... And maybe the reason that we didn't do it until we're older is that you have to be kind of stable, essentially, to get more out of it. It's not really recommended, I think, if you're all over the place. Yeah.
No, and then there's lots of studies that say, it's good for, finding your way, and that when you are really messed up, that's the time to take it. So the first time I took acid, I had my first bout with like darkness again in a long time. And that was last year. My relationship was on the rocks. I just came back from Asia. I was overwhelmed at the pollution on the other end of the world and the amount of people and how insignificant we are over here, that little that we're trying to do for the planet or whatnot.
Yeah.
And anyways, that's a whole other thing. But I came back and I was really down and I didn't know how to get out of it. I had this tab in my pocket. It's not in my pocket, in my bookshelf for 6 months.
Really?
And I said, I'm just going to pop this in. I popped it in. I went out. I had a night where my friends the next day all messaged me and said, wow, like what conversations? Like, man, thanks so much for such a great night. All this nice stuff.
So it brought out a better version of you, maybe, or one that's
it just made me more
likely to come out in that circumstance.
Just less callous, like we were saying before. And I was seeing through people, like seeing their intention. I was seeing what they were about and how they felt. And I really, I'd say I had some really powerful moments, and if it was felt by the other person. I went home that night when at the time I was in a relationship, and I had a really beautiful moment with my girlfriend at the time. She, I'm sure she will never forget it. I never will. The moon was out. It was weird. It was such a beautiful light. Anyways, again, when used properly.
That's the thing. But what I worry is that, psychologically, I'm good with it. I'm not worried about it. But I wonder what it's doing to my serotonin levels and
if you're doing
metabolism
it often,
and all that stuff. Yeah, because I feel like there might be a correlation that when I do get into stretches when I'm doing it, I think I do find that I get more volatile emotionally. More likely to be depressed or anxious in off moments. And so as a result, what happens when you're like that is that you might be more drawn to doing more of it.
Is that a winter thing right now?
Maybe it's a winter thing.
Because
maybe
I feel it
I'm
too.
alone, in my house and there's nothing to do, and you think, it just pops into your mind.
I'm not even a stressed out guy. I have no reason to be. I've got no problems, really, that are significant compared to anything out there. And I live a very happy life, but I get this subconscious stress. And I looked it up online, as everyone does when they panic about their health. Because I'm still getting it, not right now, but last night I had it, I couldn't sleep. This tightness in my chest. And I looked it up, lots of research, and apparently it's this subconscious anxiety. What the fuck am I anxious about? I don't even know.
Yeah.
I don't.
No, but your body is doing it. It's we try to understand it rationally, but it's like, what they talk about PTSD or some kind of a traumatic incident. Something happens to you, your body registers it as much as your memory, your abstract intellectual understanding of it. You could work it out in your brain rationally and figure it out and say, oh, that was okay, I'm over it, whatever. But your body doesn't do that. It's not making an argument. It's just responded to that, and it's going to keep it ingrained in there for a long time until you find another way around to deal with that. And one of the ways I found to deal with that kind of shit is like on mushrooms, for example. I realize that there's kind of various processes within me that are constantly at play. Some of them get more powerful at certain times. Some of them get diminished. Some of them disappear for a while. Some of them come back. Some of them, melt into each other. And where am I going with this?
Healing powers of mushrooms,
right.
My brother.
So when I realize that sometimes you feel like there's maybe your name is Damon, but like a demon. In a sense that there's another entity inside you that sometimes might be working against you. And it's you. It's a part of you. It's another cyclone within you. But
there
the
are
reason...
some theories that it's actually beings that are latched onto you.
Well, some people... You could. These are metaphoric ways of describing it. But what I'm saying is that there's different processes at play, whether or not we talk about their provenance, So, again, I'm starting to lose track.
Well, you're just talking about how, this stuff is subconscious and it's ourselves, it's our own.
Right.
We may not necessarily be going through something, but we are going and we're registering it subconsciously.
Right.
And
and the way to indirectly get at that, I found, is to basically open up a conversation between those parts and I'm able to do this more
You talk to yourself?
Yeah, in a way.
They
but
say that's brilliant.
Not verbally necessarily, but like in, basically staring into space, and I'm seeing, it's more of kind of a visual, verbal understanding. I see basically cycles and cyclones within me kind of interacting and communicating. Mm-hmm. And the message I'm getting is, hey, listen to me. You never listen to me. Like this one that's kind of being counterproductive and kind of sabotaging you all the time is basically saying, I'm doing this because you never listened to me. Yeah. It's like, as long as they're listened to and addressed and said, oh, you're feeling uneasy because of this. Yeah, it's a stressful situation. I get it. But, I'll take care of you. Don't worry about it. I'm not going to let us fall in. It's basically your rational brain talking to your body and saying, don't worry, I'm not going to make terrible decisions. Like, I know your reaction is to get terrified and scared when you have this kind of a thing, but it's okay, I've got your back, kind of a thing. So you kind of set that other part of you at ease. And that seems to be that kind of a conversation you can have in a psychedelic state. Mm-hmm. That's very difficult to have when you're not in that state.
Yeah. Well, I mean, in your meditations, a lot of times I think you get to that, but in a different way. Mm-hmm. I do transcendental meditation, and it's mantra-based. And when I get really deep, and it takes about probably about 15 minutes before, and I do about 20 minutes 2 times a day. And at about the 15, 14, 13 minute mark, something happens, and I go really, really deep, where everything disappears, and I'm in this other state. And then the thoughts are different. They're more wisdom. They're not just scattered thoughts. They're actual things that you need to get on. You know what I mean? They're your consciousness. They're another person's consciousness. I don't know what, the cosmic consciousness. You're tapping into something. And I'm closing my eyes right now because I'm trying to get as close to that as possible to explain to everybody what that is. But there's this voice inside of you that you do talk to yourself in essence, but it's a one-track channel. You're not really able to, I don't know if you're able to really send a message out. I'm sure a lot of people would probably say, yes, you are, dude. You haven't tried that. Okay, I'll try that.
I'm skeptical of such things.
Yeah. But definitely the collective consciousness thing, sometimes you think of an idea and you think of someone and then they're there, boom. Like my mother and I, why? My girlfriend and I at the time when we were together, a month ago and before that, we were always, she'll tell you, we were always on boom, we were just bing, ding, texting each other at the same time.
It's like a quantum entanglement.
It's crazy. And there is something there.
Macro scale.
Yeah, I think we can doubt this stuff and not be able to say that it's scientific, but science is measuring something. But if we don't have a way to measure it yet, then how do we know it's not science? Everything.
I agree, but you have to kind of be very skeptical lest you fall for everything.
It's not 100%, right? But
I always ask a lot of my beliefs. It's you have to.
Well, you're talking to somebody who left being a Christian Jehovah's Witness for devout for 15 years, and then having the fucking carpet of reality and
how old were you when that was happening? That's
oh gosh, I was 28 when I decided that God was not. I'm not. I was pretty much drowning in a lake, and I said, I'm not asking for your help because I actually really don't believe in you anymore. Not that way. Not this one. Not this God.
Right.
I found God in myself, just cliche. You find it in your meditation. Guess what, guys? It's true. You do. You find it inside
So was
yourself.
It a surprise to you? Was it very sudden? Was it this realization?
Oh man, I went through the whole the psychiatrist would sit you down. You're going through the phases of anger and listen. I was angry. I felt like I got fooled, man.
Right.
I was pissed off. I was pissed off at my mother. I was pissed off. It's wrong, I shouldn't be so pissed off. I wish I was more civilized and I was a bit more gentle towards my family and my sister and my mother about it. But it's fuck, man, you're pissed. You're how did I get so entangled in such brainwash? And Jehovah's Witnesses, they're beautiful people. They're good people. That's the thing about religion. It attracts good people. But the sad thing is, it's such, it's a mind fuck.
Were they deceiving you, or were they equally deceived?
Nobody's deceiving anyone.
Everyone's
this
just
is like
blind
you
to
go
what's
into
going
it,
on,
you're
or-
walking on set. Okay, I'm in the film and TV industry. You walk on set and it's the real thing for them. It's the Brady Bunch, like, but it's the real thing. It's just like,
So no one's playing a game or fooling or taking advantage. I think some people might be, but not. I mean, the vast majority of them aren't.
I won't
obviously.
name a person, but there was someone I can think of that, had the most horrible reputation in social media and in the neighborhood, in the city, and this person was one of them. And I think he was going through a lot. I felt sorry for this person. He was a nice guy to me, but like he had a lot of problems and a lot of stories around him, and I could tell this soul was just struggling. And I think that's what it is a lot of people struggling in this world. We live in a really sad, harsh world. And, and these people are just holding on to whatever they can. And you know what, Jehovah's Witnesses, they're pretty harmless people for the most part, But I like to fuck with them, though. Every time, like they still come and knock on your door and stuff. Like, I got nothing against them anymore. I'm done being angry. I love them all, but I still have a good time with them. The last time they came up to me, and this guy came up and he had a young one next to him, and it's kind of how it works. Like the elders take out the younger guys, and they kind of just train them in how to talk to talk to people about God and how to try to convert them.
Does it ever work?
Believe it or not, it does. It does. I was one of the convertees. Many of us are. But let me get to the story. Yeah. This gentleman comes up and he starts talking to me, giving me the whole spiel. It's like, hello, we're in the neighborhood talking to you about this and this. Would you be interested? And I'm like, hell yeah, I'm interested. Let's talk about this. And I just play dumb, right? Like I don't even know anything. And I was like, so like, you guys don't believe in violence or anything, or like killing, right? Because I'm like more into like the Zen, like meditating thing, and they're like, no, we don't believe in violence. No, we actually abstain from war, and we're neutral and all that. And I'm like, okay, cool. Like that's what I like to hear. Well, so what's this about? And they start talking. And I go, whoa, wait, like, so like, are you guys? Are you guys from the Bible? And they're like, I'm sorry, this is mean, but they're like, yeah, we're that. So you believe in that guy? What's his name? They're like Jehovah. Like, yeah. So he's like the biblical God, right? And they're like, yeah. But like, didn't he like kill babies? Didn't he like kill a whole bunch of I read somewhere that he killed like 2 million people. Wow. Like without the flood. And I think the flood was like 15 million.
You're trolling them.
And the guy trolling him hard. And this kid would look on his face, looking at the elder, like, I hope you have an answer for this. No. And the older guy's just like, literally, I think he knew that I knew. And he just like grabbed his, but I tried to hide it as much as I could. I think I honestly, I don't know. Maybe I stumped him, maybe I didn't. But I don't know what you would answer to that, first of all. But it basically said, no thanks, I don't want to believe in a God that has ever killed anyone. Right. I believe in nonviolence. If there's a being that is as powerful as he is and is, foretelling the future and all-knowing, blah, 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 and perfect and infallible, then he shouldn't need to resort to a human...
Should know better.
He shouldn't need to resort to killing people, And that's basically what I told him. And he literally covered the kid's ears. Not really. He grabbed him by the shoulder and said, oh, come on, sonny boy, let's head on across the street and try to find someone who's actually broken.
So when you left that realm, that world, that way of seeing, that framework, where did you go?
See how I took a breath there?
Yeah, where did you go?
That was like how I felt when I finally...
Was it replaced by something, or did it...
Okay, I'll walk you through it. I'll walk you through it. I remember it. Like, first of all, it was like coming out of the depths of the ocean and taking a big gasp of fresh air and having all the weight in the shoulder off, and there was this moment where I felt numb and suspended and scared because everything that I knew, all the truths, all the floor that I built for myself to stand on, shattered into a million pieces.
You experienced the death of God.
I guess so, but I wouldn't say I don't believe in something. I do believe, and I want to, and I think it's normal for us to believe that there is, okay, for one, there's got to be some alien, civilization or beings that are out there that have been around for millions of years that have experienced our success, but let's say 1,000,000 years forward. Imagine what we accomplished in the last 100 years, and imagine what they would accomplish in 1,000,000 years. Like those guys, they'd come up to us, forget holograms, forget invisibility cloaks, forget being able to control us. Like, think about the laws of physics that they could bend in their way. Like, they would be gods to us. You know, I could come up a lot of more logical, answers than mythical stuff. Especially from a vengeful, angry God. Like, it was just like when you look at the Bible, I'm like, how could you let your kids read this? It's filled with scrotums and rape and murder and jealousy and anger.
Well, I mean, these were useful fireside stories. I mean, they're cultural waypoints that people can use. That's the canon. It's their literature. It's instead of like referring to Greek tragedy or Shakespeare or referring to the Bible, it's just another way for lessons. Yeah. It's just that when we take it literally.
I could take Spider-Man literally. Yeah.
And then it gets a little silly. And then people are kind of doing all kinds of mental gymnastics to try and fit it into their understanding when, they're contradicting themselves at every turn. And that's an unhealthy thing, not just for your brain and psychology, but your body as well, I would think, that, if you're constantly trying to square a circle, as they say, I don't know.
It's just, one thing that I got to say about religion is it's not a big deal. It's not a problem. Can you hear Tetsu licking his bowl? All the way over there.
We're just rolling around on the carpet.
Oh, he's rolling around. Oh, this mic's throwing me off. Anyways, people like Jehovah's Witnesses and the subdued Christianity and like Buddhists, and they're generally very, they've calmed down. It's like even the Crusades, they were more of a defensive thing. They weren't really like, there's a few offensive fronts, but in general, he loves her carpet. In general, it wasn't aggressive. It's not an aggressive thing anymore. They committed atrocities. Millions of souls were killed in the name of God and all that. But what really scares me in this day and age is that there's still violence committed by religion, and this is still a fucking thing.
I think it might always be a thing, because there's always going to be fundamentalists for any kind of belief system. There's always going to be people that take it too far. And what we can do is essentially have checks and balances and systems and civilization in place where we can check that, not let it get out of hand. But it's not something that's going to be eradicated. It's kind of a foolhardy thing to think that we can have a battle or war against something like that and get rid of it forever. You
buy into what's going on right now in the world, like you think that Christianity is at war with Islam?
I think everyone's at war with everyone. It's all kinds of worldviews that everyone's trying to push on everybody else. It's not just religions. It's economic systems. It's politics. It's CrossFit. I don't know. I mean, there's people that have worldviews that are always at war, and some of them take means to win. They take some terrible steps to do so, and others are maybe less inclined to do so, but it's always around.
Yeah. Well, maybe our kids.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I'm generally optimistic about the future, but it's right now with our technological curve that we're on, it's really hard to predict.
It's so strange, right? I mean, there's so many misalignments. There's on one end, we're evolving very quickly, technologically, and then on the other end, there's still like a force that's fighting the other way, and there's like almost like waves crashing into each other of consciousness, of awareness and non-awareness, and old ways and new ways, and what's right and what's wrong.
Yeah, I think you're right.
Meanwhile, we're battering the earth, and meanwhile, there's this battleground, and it's such a big thing, man. Like we're in a very pivotal point, We're in a very privileged, but almost, I don't know, if we make it through, I think we're going to look back and be like, wow, that was a special, spark.
Yeah.
That was a crazy time.
It feels like maybe the late 60s. At the moment, it feels kind of like that. from what I can tell. There was kind of this awakening, and there was even the psychedelia that was big, and there was
That's true.
more of a social approach. There was more, anti-capitalism was happening.
Open love.
All
It's
that
Valentine's
stuff.
Day, huh? Open love. Let's close on this one. How about what do you think about open love now? Like polyamory, polygamy.
I think I'm kind of experimenting with that.
Are you?
Sort
That's
of.
getting interesting. Okay.
I don't know. Like I said, I'm trying to be kind of dating at the moment, whereas not trying to jump in too quickly to anything and see what happens. I'd like to think. Here's the thing. Okay, what do I think about that? Yeah, if you asked me when I was younger, I would have said that's the only way to be like polyamorous. I would have said I wouldn't have even conceived of the possibility of having a monogamous relationship, to be honest with you. It's only recently that I've even entertained that possibility for myself. It's like, I might be able to actually deal with that or cope with it. And in fact, it might even be good for me. Mm-hmm. These ideas only entered into my mind very recently. It's only in the last few years. So, it opens up a whole different kind of dating when, right now I'm almost 50.
Yeah.
But I'm thinking, if I'm going to have a child, this is probably, I better think about doing it very soon. Otherwise, it's just not going to happen, more than likely.
Yeah.
Right? So that changes what you're doing in terms of dating even. Like, do I have to now start thinking about dating younger women? Because, and then I'm going to feel like maybe a bit of a creep, So maybe it's already too late.
Yeah.
And so if that's the case, and then
age
you
is
think,
not as important as where the mind is, and how old the soul is, and like how aware that person is, But
sure, but the odds diminish as you like. If I'm in my late 50s, it's gonna be less and less likely for me to be in a partnership with somebody in their early 30s, at some point. So.
But yeah, I don't know where I stand. Like, I mean, as we're saying, I've painted myself as being somewhat of an evolved person here, but I have to say that monkey inside of me, that jealousy and that double standard.
So you feel like you haven't been able to cross that divide, and like it's good for you, but not necessarily good for the other way.
I don't know
get
if
that.
I'm okay with that. I don't know if it's a male thing, it's a genetic thing. Like, we got to protect our shit. I heard our penises are shaped the way they are because they're supposed to cover your ears. They're supposed to scrape out the semen of the guy before, so that you can keep yours in. Like, this is what we are at the bare. Yes,
more or less.
Our bare essence is this. So I feel that, like, inside of me fighting sometimes, and it's really hard. Like, and the last girl I dated was very evolved. I mean, even though she, was much younger than me, she was very evolved, and she taught me so much. And who am I to fight, the flow of life and to try to put a structure, a wall around it. And man, if you want to believe in, I'm not saying that she did or whatever, but I'm just saying if someone wants to believe in polyamory, for instance, then go for it. But it is something to take into consideration depending on what stage you are in your life, for sure.
Yeah, I mean, what you just said is, it's like, it's easy to understand and accept polyamory abstractly, intellectually, as ideas, as an argument. It's all true. But when you experience it, it's a different, because then it's your body reacting, and your body's reacting in non-rational ways. It's not thinking logically. It's reacting according to programming of millions of years.
My hairs on my arms are going up.
Yeah.
I want to kill him. Who is he? Are you sleeping with someone?
But I think, but that's kind of a more initial reaction. I think that eventually changes.
It goes away.
And this is what we do, right? We teach ourselves. We change because we decide to change. And then as a result, we kind of hack our bodies to come along later. It's just delayed usually. Like, you decide something, your body's not necessarily on board, because it's reacting with anxiety or whatever. And then until it starts to get used to the idea, it's always lagging behind.
But you were saying, like, it's like the 60s, and we got an open drug, world right now, which is kind of nice. And because it just doesn't matter, if you're going to do it, you're going to do it, and people have to do it for the right reasons or whatnot. That's still in play. That's the only thing that really matters. And we're in a time where it's almost like the flower child time, and people are open love again, and like, but we've got this whole thing called online, and That's a whole phenomenon on its own. People's fucking psychologies are changing, dude.
Oh, no
like
doubt.
with Instagram and social media and like the way things are, people's minds, like they're gonna have to throw away the textbooks on how they, evaluate human behavior and anticipate it. They're gonna have to throw this stuff out because swipe. Like is gonna, and whatever evolution of that is gonna come forward, and it's at a rapid pace.
That's the thing. It's the rapidity of it. Yeah.
Oh, man, our kids are gonna come out digital, dude.
Right.
Soon they'll be coming out. Hello, I am your child.
See, we always
like to name me.
Historically, we had things, technology or something would come about, and we would start developing a cultural practice around it. It would become normal. It would maybe become a profession. It would be taught. It would take, 2 or 3 generations, and then something would change, and they would become less prominent, and they'd go away. But culture would have time to react to it all. Whereas, right now, it's within a couple of years, an entire cultural practice will come and go. Like Facebook, for example, is a huge thing right now.
Yeah.
But in 5 years, it could be totally nothing. It could be totally replaced by something.
Facebook will be gone in 5 years.
Well, I mean, as an example.
But I know what you're saying.
Yeah, things like that have. I mean, the fact is, Facebook wasn't around 10 years ago, and now it is.
I know, but as a company, they're just too diversified. They're all over. They're going to be around for a while.
Yeah, but that practice will be something else.
Shares. I just want to disclose that.
But notice that they bought Ocular. What is it?
Rift or
whatever. The VR company.
Oh, right.
Oculus Rift. Yeah.
The Oculus Rift, yeah. And
so
Microsoft has theirs, and HoloLens.
So I think they're thinking that we're all going to be kind of communing in virtual rooms at some point in the near future. And
VR wasn't a hit. VR wasn't really a hit. Although, hey, have you tried the VR porn?
No, but that's the thing that's going to make any new technology become taken up.
Man, I gotta see that. I'm not gonna do it. I'm just kidding.
You gotta try it.
Mom's listening.
Yeah. Gotta try
it's
it.
Embarrassing. Yeah, for sure.
Well, especially with sex, it's kind of interesting because with VR, when you're in a room, visually, sonically, everything's going to be more or less identical. You're going to be able to get. The only thing that's going to be, obviously, touch is going to be one thing that's going to be hard to replicate. But they're talking about having haptic suits, and also things like smells and pheromones and things like that. When it comes to sex, I think a lot of that is at play. But so you think, well, how real can it be? But on the other hand, people are basically masturbating to a video and imagining themselves in it, and it's working, and that's just a flat screen.
That shit is fucking up people's psychology too.
Right. So imagine being in a very convincing room where you're actually feeling, things on your suit, and maybe even there's probes in your brain that are triggering things that make you smell pheromones, and who knows? Yeah. And then it's going to be pretty close, but I'm curious as to what's still going to be missing. There's still going to be something missing.
I think what's going to have to happen is somehow be able to, like going back to psychedelics, be able to take the technology on a level where it's neuroscience, like neurochemistry, where you simulate those things and maybe
you go into the matrix in a way.
Yeah, go into a matrix and like those those chemicals that are released in your body that aid that, somehow they're able to simulate that.
And in fact,
I think that would be more of a realistic.
Well, in fact, it wouldn't be simulating, because if it's those chemicals that are being released, then it's actually having that experience, right? So your experience is that experience. It's no different than if you're able to modify it and hack it at that level where you've got your brain releasing and doing neuronal activity. It's going to be that. That is reality.
Okay, so one time I experienced. Have you ever tried 2CB?
I have, yeah.
Okay, so check this out. One time I tried going back to, remember that we're going to go back to sexual satisfaction without any touching.
Right.
So I tried 2CB. I went out with my friends. I had a crazy day that day. I was out in the sun a lot. So long story short, I went into this bar with my friends. I started getting dizzy. And then the 2CB started kicking in. So everything visually was starting to get affected. But I started getting dizzy. Turns out I had heat stroke at the same time as when my 2CB kicked in.
Dehydration? Or?
From whatever, I don't know, from out being in the sun and dehydrate.
Yeah.
But my best friend, he didn't have anything wrong with him. He was fine. He was like, yeah, man, it's awesome. I'm like, yeah, it's really strong, isn't it? I don't know what's wrong with me. I didn't realize until later. I went outside. It felt like I threw up, and it felt like I was in Miami. It was so weird. I remember it like it was yesterday. My girlfriend at the time took me back home to my condo, and she took care of me. We started watching some Nightmare Before Christmas and just relaxing, and everything was great. And then I said to her, I don't know what's going on right now, but I'm starting to get this feeling, sexual feeling inside of me. And she's like, I'm not gonna, and I'm like, I'm not gonna ask you to, but I'm gonna go to my bedroom and I'll be back. She's like, okay, whatever, weirdo. And she was pretty cool. I go to my bedroom, I close the lights, I shut the door, I don't touch myself. I just lay in my bed and I allow myself to go into that feeling. So lately I've been experimenting with my chakras.
So were you able to come to orgasm without touching anything?
Man, I sustained an orgasm. I sustained an orgasm. Talk about hitting that frequency of the universe. I sustained it like a beautiful note on a guitar. And I just held it.
I guess that's what those Eastern practitioners are talking about.
Dude, it was crazy. I've never, to this day, I have access to that chakra or that area of my body.
So you feel like you can get back,
I know
recreate it in
nothing
some
like
sense?
that. Nothing like that ever again. But I know it's there, and I have been able to have. I can't believe I'm talking about this. I've had better orgasms since, because of this. I opened a pathway, like when you go through a dense forest. The first time you go through with a butcher with a machete, it's hard. But then the second time it gets a little easier, and the third time it gets easier and easier.
The pathways, you have with the neurons in your brain.
Yeah.
You've created those pathways, so each time it's easier to go down them.
There, going back to what we were saying, somehow it's possible.
Absolutely.
I've been there.
Yeah, so, and we have wet dreams, for God's sakes. I mean, that's a simulation.
I don't know about you, but I don't really. I've not gotten
we
a long
humans,
time, man.
Yeah. So we clearly fall for that simulation. To the extent that we don't know we're in a simulation. That happens very easily, it seems, with us. I think we're going to get very confused in like 20 years. A lot of people are
Total recall.
Maybe,
oh, man. Which memories would you like implanted?
Right.
I want a 5-minute orgasm in the sunset.
I wonder, I don't know. I'm kind of skeptical about this, like implanting a memory thing, because I don't think that's the same thing.
No?
No. Because your initial experience of it, I think, impacts differently than just recalling the memory, right?
So if I had the choice, I'd
obviously, right? And that's why that memory is so pleasant, is because it had such an impact on you in the first experience.
Yeah.
That's why the memory of it is pleasant, because it's remembering that. But if the memory is, I guess it could even recreate that.
Because it's physical, again, it's the body, right?
Yeah, I guess it could recreate anything.
So it would have to be able to fool the body as well as the mind at the same time, the way the reality did. Because if there's any jointment there, then you would know that it's
That's true. Yeah.
Interesting. Awesome, man. So, love, drugs. What else did we talk about?
Not much politics or anything. But
good, it's okay. Everybody else is talking about it. You know what? I don't even want to get into it. It's kind of negative vibes, to be honest.
It's true.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, we had kind of a group gathering here last week of a bunch of people that were on the podcast, or some very smart people, and we spent the whole night, and I don't think anybody talked politics the entire night.
I think people are just fucking sick of it.
I assumed we might, but nobody did.
I instigate a lot on Facebook. I post very opinionated stuff, but not necessarily sometimes it's not necessarily my beliefs, but just the other side, devil's advocate, just to try to incite some conversation, try to get into people's fucking guts and feel like, why are you really hating Donald Trump so much? Is it because of, he just, hates women, or is it because you actually hate his policies? You know what I mean? Because
there's a lot of reasons.
There's lots. Which one do you want to choose? Just as long as you're choosing the right one, though. But be
clear about it. Yeah.
Be clear. Like, it's just, don't hate everything just because. Don't jump on a bandwagon of hate.
Well, avoid hate at all costs if you can.
Yeah.
Well, most. Sometimes hate might be useful, I guess, but use it very sparingly. I can't think of a reason right now. But I always come back to, it's like, we talked about a little bit earlier, like we've been bred over millions of years to have these processes within us, including a reaction of hate. So it served some purpose. Does it still serve a purpose? Maybe it's much more limited. Maybe, can we say not at all? I don't know.
I believe it was the Maharishi Yogi Mahesh who said that when you use any sort of humor even that's dark, whether you're emitting negative energy even through humor, through comedy, he said that you're still emitting negative energy. Even though you're making people laugh, someone's hurting. And that is registered, people register that. So when we're talking about this shit, and it's just like, it's all over. People are angry, and I don't know, man. Like,
but what about creative destruction, for example? Because some people would say that you need a little bit of creative destruction to get to the next stage, or to feel kind of a collapse.
That's
so that
what
you can
women are
rebuild.
for when they break your heart, dude.
Yeah.
That's your creative destruction.
Yeah.
Anything good's about a lost love anyways.
Yeah,
No, I'm kidding. But yeah, I know what you're saying.
Yeah, because when we
a
have
lot of good art comes out of revolutions and times of distress. Sure, that's people directing negative energy into creative.
Yeah, but it seems like if we have everything kind of figured out more and more, we just become more pissed off at the smaller, finer details. It's like we're always going to be.
Yeah, but then you see these people who are like wise beyond years, who walk around with a certain grace. So my teacher, the guy that taught me meditation, I asked him, I said, after 40 years of meditating, tell me this before I jump on this ship. What is your superpower? Can you shoot fireballs? Can you levitate? Can you what the hell did you learn in 40 years of doing this every day, spending all that time in that subconscious realm?
Wow.
And he said, I have to say that it's grace, that my life is led by grace. And I was like, what the fuck does that mean?
What does it mean by that? Yeah.
I struggled with that. I mean, I went home, I struggled 2 years later after meditating, and I had this really deep meditation where I went in so deep, and I felt this room that was everything, every soul, man, I don't even know how to explain this, so I'm not going to bother. But it was a place that I feel like sometimes you get the privilege of going, and some people may know what I'm talking about, but it's where everything is. And it's a beautiful place. And I came out of that place and it's never been the same. I just touched it. And I understood what he was talking about, because synchronicity started happening in my life where it just kept happening and happening. I was like, there's no way. Look up synchronicities if you don't know what I'm talking about. But
the Jungian thing.
Yeah, but there's things happening. There's no way. And then it happens again and again and again in one day. And you're like, come on. I'm not stupid, man. Something's going on. You're tapped in. That connection is just...
So you've left this religious world, but you have kind of a religious sensibility in a way.
I would say you don't need to be religious to be spiritual.
Right.
I think it's important as a human being. It's one of our senses to be spiritual. Meditation was passed down to you for thousands of years for free. You can go out there and learn how to do this thing that you actually are programmed to do or have the ability to do. fMRI scans show that you activate parts of your mind that have never, under any other circumstances of activity, subconscious or conscious, been awakened or illuminated. But when you meditate, you illuminate those parts of your mind. That alone does not make you curious.
That sounds like good exercise.
They say you get higher IQ scores. There's, peer-reviewed scientific articles to prove all this stuff. You can look this up. It's crazy. Why would you not want to be version 2.0 of yourself? 10% better at everything.
Yeah. But, the way that our society is set up is that it kind of ridicules this kind of contemplative,
I
sitting
feel sorry
around
for those
staring.
people.
I know, but it's, and sometimes the people that are ridiculing it are the ones that maybe need it the most, but they're never going to be necessarily brought to it. But we're doing the best we can.
Yeah. There is, like we said, that clash of conscious and awake and sleep people,
Yeah.
There's a lot of
That's a good
noise out
metaphor.
there, man. It's like, we're just a bunch of bees and there's a lot of smoke and everyone's just like buzzing around, not knowing and confused and not being able to see what's going on and in panic.
Well, it's because everyone's kind of living in their own customized reality these days, whereas it used to be, you'd have 2 or 3 sides of like worldviews. Is it, is it atheist? Is it Christian? Is it whatever? Is it
or is it your mom's
capitalist
basement?
versus whatever? You had a few different worlds. Now it seems like everyone has their own private custom worldview. So there's a lot of confusion and dissociation going on. That's the future, the confusion. But I'm still optimistic.
I'm optimistic.
Yeah.
I think the whole Marshall McLuhan Global Village coming true thing is a good thing. I think it's helped and healed a lot and brought about a lot of understanding.
Oh yeah, I think everyone is pretty much most humans are connected.
As long as, and I think that's one admirable thing that Facebook is doing, is trying to get internet to everybody. That's important, man.
It is, except that they're going to do that just so they can exploit them for...
Who cares if they make money off it? They're bringing...
I know, it's always the bitter medicine.
They're tapping, like, what you... Look at what you have access to, man.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Any question you have, you just ask it. Should I hate black people? Should I hate Jews? You know, like, I can find hate groups on there, or I can find reasons why not to.
Right.
I can evolve. I can have conversations that are uncomfortable with people with opinions that are different than mine now. Whereas I was, you know, enclosed in this, you know, world where media wasn't free, for instance, or I didn't have the technology to know otherwise. But man, now I can tap into the knowledge, and I'm sure a lot of people will choose love over hate. You know, when you have access to education and knowledge, we generally, I would like to think, are more good than evil.
So I guess you agree with me that we have to really maybe fight to protect this internet freedoms that are constantly trying to be eroded. And I think that's you hit it. I mean, imagine where we'd be politically, and how easily it would be to suppress people without
governments are being toppled. Unfair governments are being toppled by Twitter.
That's right.
You know,
it's having a hand in it.
Facebook, online. It could be a good thing. You know, we use this stuff for good, and some people use it for bad. But
like any technology,
all we can do is just pass on love to our kids and let it dilute. You know. Yeah.
Thanks for coming in.
Thank you.
And thanks for opening up.
Hey.
Good conversation.
Okay, so let's cut out the part about killing cats and me masturbating to drugs and what else?
Covered it all.
Holy crap. So that's not my real name either.
High five.
All right, man.
Right on.
Good job.
Thanks.
Oh, that was fun.
Yeah.
I feel like that was therapy.